All right, listeners. Now is a great time to talk about a new partner of ours here on Acquired, Legora, the agentic operating system that is redefining how the world's best legal teams work.
Yep, it's sort of obvious that AI is going to completely change the legal industry. I bet most of you listening have dropped a contract into some sort of AI chatbot out there. Legora took that insight and asked the question, what if you really built something with that power from the ground up for the legal industry?
So the founders did exactly what great founders do, operate with obsessive customer focus. They embedded inside a massive law firm for months. They sat with the lawyers just watching how the work really gets done.
And that's how you get features that customers love, like tabular review, where you drop in a folder of hundreds of contracts and it pulls every key term into a grid a lawyer can actually work with. Legora's bet here is interesting. Since it lets each lawyer handle more complexity, any given person can increase the quality of their work and do higher value work. And this means that the pie can grow even as each individual task takes less time.
And they recently launched Legora Agent, offering greater intelligence and performance. The agent lets lawyers set an objective. Then it can handle the planning and the execution and delivery of the final product. Legal teams get to maintain full control and transparency since they're still involved where judgment is required.
And Legora works where you already work. You can use it within Microsoft Word while redlining or drafting. The early Legora numbers essentially speak for themselves. When they have a head-to-head pilot with their top competitor, they win 70% of the time. Legora now has over 100,000 lawyers on the platform from 1,200 legal teams in 50 countries. And crazily, they went from 1 million to 100 million in ARR in about 18 months.
Truly insane numbers. And that is the real test. Plenty of things demo well, but the question is whether a busy associate actually reaches for it during crunch time, or whether a partner trusts it before going into a conversation with a major client. If your legal team wants to check it out, whether you're a law firm or you're in-house at a company, you can learn more at legora.com/acquired and just tell them that Ben and David sent you.
Who got the truth? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Who got the truth now? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Sit me down, say it straight. Another story on the way. Who got the truth?
Welcome to episode 6 of Acquired, the podcast where we talk about technology acquisitions that actually went well. I'm Ben Gilbert.
I'm David Rosenthal.
And we are your hosts. Just a quick administrative thing. If you like the show, we would love for you to rate us on iTunes. Been doing a lot of research on podcasts recently and kind of how the iTunes search algorithm works. And if you like it and you think other people would like it too, would love for you to leave a review.
And likewise, as always, if you have feedback, hit us up on Twitter at acquired.fm or leave a comment on the website.
Yes. So this week we are, I'd say we're timely. We're probably a month late. We're talking about the Disney acquisition of Lucasfilm and all of Lucasfilm's franchises.
Ben, I am your father.
Wait, that wasn't in the script.
Cut.
All right. David, over to you first for acquisition history and facts.
Oh, man. Lucasfilm. Star Wars. What more can you say? So, George Lucas obviously founded Lucasfilm, 1971 in San Rafael, California, which has personal significance for me and my family. That's where my wife is from, where my in-laws live. And
David, where did you watch Star Wars?
And I was going to say episode 7, we went over the holiday break to the theater in Corte Madera that George Lucas himself helped renovate for the prequels when they came out. It's a one-screen theater in Marin, and it was amazing. There's a great Vanity Fair article about this theater and the work that Lucas has done on it. Super fun. So early 70s, Lucas founds Lucasfilm, and the first project that the company does is American Graffiti, which comes out in 1973. And then the next film that the company produces, 1977 is A New Hope.
Well,
I guess
Star
it was
Wars.
called Star Wars at the time. We know it as A New Hope.
On this podcast, it's just called Star Wars, David.
All right, Ben. And then since then, over the years, I mean, pretty incredible what this company has produced, both itself and what's come out of it. I mean, this is our second episode about a Lucasfilm company.
A Disney acquisition?
Yeah, Disney acquisition of a Lucasfilm company.
I was going to try and catch you there on, well, David, I think you mean because Pixar was also acquired by Disney, but was also spun out of Lucasfilm. Yeah,
well, essentially, I mean, you could argue started at Lucasfilm. The company and the product itself, I believe, was started at Lucasfilm.
Yeah. So I guess they just took two shots at acquiring Lucasfilm.
Yeah,
piece
exactly.
by piece.
Do you know what else came out of Lucasfilm? That is no longer part of the company.
Industrial Light and Magic? That is
yes, but that's part of the company. This came out of Industrial Light and Magic specifically.
I have no idea.
Photoshop.
What? Adobe?
Not Adobe. Photoshop.
Did Adobe acquire Photoshop?
Adobe acquired Photoshop. Yeah.
Well, there's another episode coming.
Yeah, I believe John Knowles was an employee of ILM, and one summer, I believe as part of a movie project. I didn't read the full history online.
Wow.
Needed this piece of software, so he wrote it and then sold it to Adobe.
Crazy.
Yeah, pretty incredible company.
I think we know what's coming next for Disney.
Among so those great organizations aside, other things that Lucasfilm contains: Star Wars, Indiana Jones, ILM, obviously, Skywalker Sound, which is film and TV sound production, quite large video game publishing and development arm, which now post-acquisition has been mostly outsourced to EA by Disney. Animation arm, licensing, and then the other company to come out of Lucasfilm was THX, the sound consumer sound company,
named for George Lucas's first film in film school, THX 1138.
Did not know that. So acquisition. In 2011, this is a great story. Star Tours, which I've done many, many times, most recently just a few weeks ago in December, was being revamped at Disney World in Florida. And George Lucas flies out to go to the premiere of the new version, the new revamped Star Tours ride. And while he's there, he's talking with Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, and mentions to him that he's thinking about retiring and maybe selling Lucasfilm. And that was summer, I believe, of 2011. And then about a year later, a little over a year later, October 2012, Disney announces the acquisition, $4.1 billion.
Ooh, pretty penny. And Lucas gives quotes in interviews saying he never dreamed of selling it to anyone else.
Would have been pretty hard for him to sell it to anybody else.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think we'll get a little bit into Bob Iger, but I mean, there's fascinating history there. There's a 20-year-old relationship where Bob Iger was working at ABC and actually greenlit the television show Young Indiana Jones for George Lucas, which did not go so well, but he kind of stuck with him through at least the first season, and there's always goodwill between Lucas and the trust that he and Iger had that eventually kind of led them here.
Yeah. Interestingly, though, and I didn't realize this till we started researching this episode, Disney obviously spends $4.1 billion to acquire Lucasfilm, and acquires a lot within that, all the properties we just mentioned, ILM and Skywalker Sound and whatnot that hadn't been spun out. But the distribution rights to the original Star Wars movies were held by Fox and still are.
Oh, wow.
So Disney was really making a big bet on the future with this acquisition.
Yeah, because it's easy to justify buying that existing cash cow. You know, there's pretty much no chance that that those movies are going to stop
raise
selling.
your hand if, in anticipation of The Force Awakens, you digital purchased the Star Wars collection.
It was
my hands in the air.
Both of us. I went to watch it on iTunes, and the only way that I could do it was like some massive 3-pack collector's edition, really expensive digital download. I mean,
I sprung for the 6-pack on Amazon.
Oh, nice. So that when I bought that through Apple on Apple TV, is that through Fox? That money's going to Fox. We watched 4, 5, and 6 again. Actually, this isn't fully true. I watched the despecialized editions, but also I'm not going to get into that. That's a problem. But yeah, that's crazy. So Fox was actually capitalizing on all the hype of that opportunity.
I got to imagine Fox made a significant amount of money in the lead up to The Force Awakens.
That doesn't include do you know if that includes merch from those original characters? Like if they're selling a episode 4 Han Solo toy.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think this is on the Wikipedia article about the acquisition, but
David's giving me homework.
Yeah, giving us all homework. I believe I read in there that at least for episode 4, I think there's a special deal for episode 4 that Fox might be even getting those ancillary rights as well.
All right, listeners, now is a great time to tell you about a longtime friend of the show, Vanta. AI has scrambled the whole security picture. It used to be that you proved that you were secure once a year, an audit or a static PDF, then everyone would nod and you're done. But in an AI-first world, that doesn't hold up anymore.
Yep, your risk surface changes every week now. A vendor turns on an AI feature or someone writes in a new model without telling IT, and your posture is different than it was last week, let alone at your last audit. Vanta's own research found that around 70% of companies have this quote-unquote shadow AI running with no security review at all.
Right. And that's where Vanta comes in. They're the leading agentic trust platform, meaning they've built the thing that closes the gap. And the way that they close that gap is Vanta Agent. Think of it as a GRC engineer, that's governance, risk, and compliance, except that it's software and it doesn't sleep. It finds the issues, drafts the fixes, and cuts the time that you'd spend on vendor assessments in half.
In half! Which is exactly why more than 16,000 companies today run on Vanta. Companies like Ramp, Cursor, and Snowflake all stay audit ready and catch the risks that crop up between audits across every vendor, every AI tool, the whole environment.
And that's the real value. Trust has to be continuous now, which is why Vanta automates your security, your compliance, and the work to earn and prove trust. We're huge fans of Vanta over here, and literally hundreds of acquired listeners have become Vanta customers at their companies over the years. So you can get $1,000 off Vanta at vanta.com/acquired. That's VANTA.com/acquired for $1,000 off, and just tell them that Ben and David sent you. Well, you want to keep going with the...
Let's keep going. So, Ben, what's your category?
So...
As a reminder, we've got people, technology, product, business line, and the all-powerful other.
This, to me, is a product acquisition in the near term, but it's a lot more in the kind of far-reaching future. I mean, the way that Disney learned from Pixar and was able to produce in Disney Creative Studios, not in Pixar, Frozen, and put that at the center of the company and have that insane, it's like 1.4 billion or something, 1.3, somewhere in there, insane cash cow in Frozen. You know, Disney learned from that acquisition without messing with Pixar too much. And that is a Bob Iger thing. I mean, I think that when Bob Iger took over from Michael Eisner as CEO, he's largely returning to the company's roots. And there's this incredible diagram that shows Disney's business model and the ecosystem thinking and how everything goes in everything
We
else.
should link to this online and on Twitter.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Awesome.
Yeah, and on Twitter. It's amazing. Like anybody who's ever been pitched a company and wondered, ooh, what's the lock-in? What are the network effects? You know, how does this company build a moat around itself? Yeah. Disney has this unbelievable ecosystem where everything flows into each other. And the center of the whole thing, as illustrated in this diagram, is phenomenal content in feature-length films. And that's something that's escaped them for a long time. I mean, if you look at Disney's revenues right now, 1/2 are from cable subsidiaries. from affiliate money that they get when, you know,
which probably 90% is ESPN.
50%,
Oh,
like a little over 50%.
Wow.
Yeah. But, you know, ESPN is a quarter of Disney's revenue. And if you look every year, it's cord cutting, money's going away. Like that future was not sustainable and it was drifting far from Disney's original roots. So putting incredible content and feature length films back at the center of the business model is a total change of direction for Disney and something that Bob Iger really kind of came in and shook everything up and did. And he gave a lot of autonomy to all the individual groups. So, you know, the way that Pixar was left alone, the way that Lucasfilm was left to do its thing, the incredible long-term thing, if they can pull it off, is sort of reverse acquiring the things that made that incredible content and letting them produce incredible content in-house. Because right now they bought the Star Wars product, but they have not sustainably proven, and of course this takes a lot of time, that they can now take the muscle of what that made that content incredible and make that something that is something they can produce on their own in the future. Yeah,
you're raising a couple interesting themes that I've been noodling on about this. So one, I would my category. So you said product today and business line in the future, or
yeah, I guess. You know, I think it sticks with product, but I think it's that sort of reverse infection thing, like the Apple to Next. Like, can the productiness, the productness that makes Disney and or that makes Pixar and Lucasfilm what they are, and I guess you could throw Marvel in there too. Like,
we might have to do a complete the trilogy here at some point and do Marvel.
Yeah.
Interestingly, just almost about the same price that Disney paid for Marvel as they did for Lucasfilm.
Yeah, we're going to have to do an episode on that. So, at the end of the day, I think it's product, that they get this product, but the ultimate thing that will prove that this spree of acquisitions and this business strategy was successful is, can Disney reacquire that muscle to build their own incredible content of all types henceforth? Yep.
And, you know, I think, I basically think the same thing. My frame on it that I was going to say is this is a product acquisition, but what the product is the product is the juice that flows through the Disney flywheel. And this diagram that Ben was talking about, Walt Disney illustrated it by hand. It's beautiful. There's Mickeys and Minnies and Tinkerbells.
Turns out the man was a good illustrator.
Yeah. All throughout it, but it's this amazing, just document of business strategy and what it is a flywheel. I've been thinking a lot about flywheels over the past few months, inspired by the Everything Store, reading the Everything Store and thinking about Amazon and the Amazon flywheel and the definition basically being, you know, how do you create this dynamic in a business where you've got different pieces of the business, and if you push on one piece of the business, it accelerates the whole system. So like in Amazon, it's, you know, lower prices lead to more consumers, which lead to more suppliers in the marketplace, which and leads to more leverage over those suppliers, which enables you to charge lower prices, which gets you more consumers, which gets you more suppliers and more leverage, and on and on and on and on. For Disney, you know, the actual diagram is quite complicated, but the nodes in their business are films and tentpole, to use the media industry term, going way back to my days as a media investment banker here, content and franchises at the center, and then the parks and the rides and television and music and merchandising, and publications, you know, comic books, and everything flowing through that system. And so to me, Star Wars is like just a great, juice is probably the wrong word, but like a great car to put on that track.
Yeah, I like that way of thinking about it too. All right, next section. Themes?
What would have happened otherwise?
Oh, yeah.
Which we almost skipped, but I think could be interesting here.
Yes, I'm not sure David and I totally agree. What would have happened otherwise? So Lucas sat on this for, I don't know how long. From
40 years.
Yeah, but he started saying in 97, no plans to make the sequel trilogy. You know, I've made the original.
Oh, sat on Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't seen anything since 1997, and he's been adamantly saying, I will never produce more Star Wars, blah, 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 blah. And he's also been saying...
I'm glad he didn't.
Howard the Duck. And not only that, saying that he wouldn't,
but saying that he wouldn't license it to anyone else either. And, I think that maybe that's just like, that'll wear out over time and this thing has too much value not to go back and remilk, and they would have sold it to somebody else. But I think the circumstances were unique, that this is exactly the sort of thing that Disney was acquiring as part of its new strategy going forward, that there was a relationship and trust there from Lucasfilm, not only with the relationship with Iger, but also, that they watched Lucas watched Jobs take Pixar from him, be extremely product focused about it and very hands-on and very intentional to keep that thing separate, and then watch the fact that Disney was able to shelter it. And when Disney was able to keep that thing separate and nurture what made it special. And, I get the sense that Lucas doesn't have that trust lightly, that this wouldn't have been sold to someone that he didn't feel would keep it in that sort of form.
So this was inevitable.
Well, I don't think it would have been Disney or no one, but it's hard to imagine this falling into place with a company other than Disney.
Could you imagine Fox owning Star Wars?
Well, what if? That's just as crazy as 5 years ago saying, "Can you imagine Disney owning Star Wars?"
Yeah, but there was Disney and Lucasfilm have always had a tight relationship. I mean, there's the Star Tours ride, there's the Indiana Jones rides.
Well, is it possible that Lucasfilm would just not have produced more films, that George Lucas would have retired? It would have made boatloads of money off the merch
off
forever.
ILM.
Yeah, and it's just not a company that produced films anymore. It was a defunct film.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? And that kind of gets to, if you think about acquisitions as a form of investing, which they should be, it's just one that most companies tend to be pretty bad at. At the core of investing is about identifying mispriced assets. And so if you're Disney, Bob Iger, and Disney's famed technology and strategy group and M&A group, and you're looking at Lucasfilm, and the worth of Lucasfilm sitting there as an independent entity was X, call it 4.1 billion, but was that mispriced relative to the opportunity that Lucasfilm had? I think, if The Force Awakens is any indication, I think that the not so secret in that I am just beyond excited about is, we're not going to have to wait too long to see Star Wars land and all the spin-off movies that they've already announced and everything coming down the pipe.
I don't know. This is the part where I'm going to say there's a spoiler alert. So here's a couple seconds if you'd like to turn the podcast off. If Disney didn't acquire Lucasfilm and no one did, and it laid dormant, then we would have Han Solo forever, and Han Solo wouldn't be dead. I'm so sad.
Well, I saw in doing research for this, I think the second Star Wars spin-off movie that Disney's going to make is a Han Solo Chronicle.
Yeah, the first being Rogue One, and the second being the first of the Chronicles following Han Solo.
Man.
So that's kind of amazing. We've got 5 films queued up before 2020. Let's review the finances so far from The Force Awakens. So already it's made $1.78 billion on.
That's incredible.
Yeah, recording this on January 14th. That's including domestic and international, not including any merchandise.
Less than 1 month.
Yeah.
Just box office receipts.
On a $200 million budget. Now, if you look at the prequels as a whole, remember...
That's amazing.
Well, yeah, it's the most incredible film, as a business ever created. On every metric. Yeah. Literally every metric. So, 4.1 billion, that's the number
not to mention,
at some point.
As I alluded to earlier, Jenny and my wife and I went to Disney World over New Year's, which was amazing. And the number of Kylo Ren lightsabers with cross guards. And
having a crossbow or cross guard is so stupid. You're just going to cut yourself. It doesn't bode well when they're hot lasers.
When it comes, it's useful in one of the battle scenes.
I think it does more harm. It's we could have a whole different podcast about this.
That could be our next podcast.
All right. So
vote in the comments if you want to hear it.
So we're trying to get to 4.1 billion, right? We're already 1.78 of the way there, minus the 200 they spent on it. I mean, it's not quite like that, but if you want to pencil it out, if you compare that to all of the prequels, the first one, which it's hard even speaking of these when really they don't exist, but the first prequel made $1 billion, the second $848 million, the second $649 billion. So total, the prequel trilogy made $2.5 billion on theater tickets, and like we could see that alone from The Force Awakens
easily, I think,
before we get any distribution outside of theaters. And so we're already looking at that. The Economist quotes that they imagine that $5 billion in Star Wars licensed products will be sold in 2016. And I don't, judging by your experience at Disney World and the Star Wars toasters and like everything we're seeing everywhere, Disney has the most incredible licensing team in the world.
Yeah,
and they're taking full advantage of Star Wars. It is. They got an Instagram bargain on their hands.
Yeah, well, maybe not quite Instagram.
All right, listeners. Now is a great time to thank our longtime friend of the show, ServiceNow. If you are running a large enterprise, AI agents are likely spread across every team, and deploying them is no longer the hard part.
Yeah. The hard part is knowing what permissions they have, what employees are using them for, or what decisions AI is making. AI security for an enterprise at scale is not a small concern. Like, the risks are real.
Exactly. And the challenge with AI is governing it, securing it, measuring it, and making sure that it actually delivers value. That is why ServiceNow built the AI Control Tower.
Yep. AI Control Tower gives enterprises a single place to see, manage, govern, and optimize AI across the entire business. And it works with any AI, not just theirs. Every device on your network, every permission across every system, every AI agent visible and secure in one place.
And ServiceNow can do this because they've spent more than 20 years building the operational backbone of the enterprise, the workflows, governance, approvals, security controls, and institutional knowledge that power how work actually gets done across IT, HR, customer service, finance, and security.
ServiceNow already runs more than 100 billion workflows annually and trillions of transactions for more than 85% of the Fortune 500. So when companies need a place to govern AI at enterprise scale, they're building on a platform at the center of how their business already operates.
And in a future that isn't going to be one AI, it's going to be thousands of AI agents working across every function of the company. But the question is, who's managing them all?
So if you're trying to turn AI ambition into real business outcomes and make it work safely, securely, at scale, go check out servicenow.com/acquired and tell them that Ben and David sent you.
Let's move on to tech themes, because I think this is a good segue. As I was thinking about this, what technology theme does this illustrate for you? I was sitting here and I was thinking, this is our 6th episode. We should have saved this for episode 7. That would have been appropriate, but not as timely.
Yeah.
And the companies we've done so far for a show that's ostensibly about technology acquisitions, we've done Pixar, Instagram, Twitch, Bungie, Siri, and now Lucasfilm. Yeah, you could argue that that's 5 media companies and 1 technology company. In Siri being the technology company and everything else being, yes, a technology company, but also a media company. And what's interesting for me, this highlights a couple of things which we've mentioned before on this show. But one, as I don't know if I need to pay any royalties on this phrase to Andreessen Horowitz. They probably trademarked it, but like, software is eating the world. 2, I actually like this phrasing of it better. This is from an old version of the Sequoia website that they've since changed, but they used to have a section on there called something like what we believe, or like what we've learned over 40 years of venture capital, or something like that. And one of the phrases was, technology is the best amplifier of a business.
Very rings true of Paul Graham's recent technology as a lever.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think about technology as a lever, it always has bbeen for Lucasfilm.
Oh my gosh, ILM. Like they were doing things that were
Pixar.
absolutely unheard of. Yeah.
So both within Lucasfilm itself, but then also, now as part of Disney, I mean, there's the whole Disney flywheel, but like, I think one of the coolest parts about episode 7, or coolest, sort of things that, business things that happened around it, is Disney didn't do a big marketing blowout budget for it. Like, who in the world didn't know that The Force Awakens was coming out this past December?
What do you mean they didn't? They didn't do a big marketing budget. Like, there was more media for The Force Awakens than I've ever seen for a movie before.
Yes, and it was free from technology, from social media. So there's
had a tremendous amount of earned media there, but
a tremendous amount of earned media, and of course they had a marketing budget for the film, and I believe it was about $100 million, but it was on the low end for big tentpole movie releases. And actually, there are a few interviews with Bob Iger about this, or stories. There's one in the Wall Street Journal, and I think one in Fortune, where he really pushed the company to be thoughtful about this and say, hey, do we need to spend a huge amount of like traditional marketing on The Force Awakens?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I saw there's definitely some paid media where or leveraging of internal assets. Where, I mean, at Sports Center the day before the movie came out, there was a 15-minute segment in the middle of Sports Center on the athletic training behind Star Wars. It was a gigantic it was incredible, and I'm like, I
need to watch
very
that.
Nice Disney owned property. But I mean, the amount of like memes that started from it, of like people taking pictures of weird Star Wars products and then posting them on Instagram and Twitter, and like that, there was that hashtag, it was like only Disney or something like that. And I mean, Reddit was just they knew where people were, and they took full advantage of their ability to spread content virally.
Yep. Second theme for me, which I've already talked about, is just the illustrating the power of the flywheel. Probably more so here than technology being an amplifier, because at the core, Lucasfilm probably less so than Pixar and Twitch. Is a technology business. I mean, it is, but the power of the flywheel, both within Lucasfilm and within Disney, is incredible here.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking, a lot of times we talk about themes, we talk about the technology themes, and other ones the acquisition themes. This almost feels like a Facebook style acquisition, where Disney is acquiring a portfolio of third-party brands that they really are learning from, but not roping in the wrong way. They're leveraging the Disney assets and the things that Disney does best, merchandising, and a lot of this media distribution. But they're not. Well, actually, here's the best litmus test of all. There was no Disney logo at the beginning of Star Wars. I mean, we didn't have 20th Century Fox. We didn't get the fanfare, and like, God, did my heart sink. But I'll take it as a compromise for we didn't get the castle. And it was. Of course, I couldn't stop thinking about this during the movie, of how good Disney is at just like letting this thing be what it is, contributing its own assets where they make sense, and learning from it in a very slow, hands-off way. And the trend there is, I mean, that Facebook is the shining example so far of companies that know how to do really good kind of siloed acquisitions where you don't mess it up too much. And like, look at Instagram from the day it was acquired to today. You look at WhatsApp from the day it was acquired to today. That is the theme of the modern acquisition that goes well.
And I think it's a major theme of this show. Look at all the episodes we've done. They've all, the successful deals have all been this style of acquisition. Pixar, Instagram, Twitch, Bungie, to an extent, as we heard Ed talk about, they had their own office. They knocked down the walls. They kept their culture. And then the acquisition we did that hasn't gone so well is the one that didn't take this approach in Siri.
Yeah. And I think to distill it down to a more catchy thing than that long version I articulated before, I think it's amplify quickly, integrate slowly.
Yeah, because there's no question that Disney is integrating Pixar, Lucasfilm, Marvel.
You look at the rides. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just never want to see a world where Luke Skywalker faces off against Iron Man, right? Like, we better not see combining of universes.
I think we'll have to go back and revise this episode if that happens.
Remove it from the CDN.
Yeah. I never got Batman versus Superman. All right. On that note, any other themes you want to add, Ben?
I don't think so.
Great. What's your grade?
I'm going to give it an A and not an A+. Even though financially I think spectacular, but I think the thing that we will see in the future is Disney able to produce content like this without gigantic acquisitions from now on? Because there's only so many pieces of gigantic content houses that they can pick up. There was some stat I was looking at the top 25 movies from last year, and like 21 or 22 of them were rebooted. Or at the very, I guess Star Wars isn't a reboot, but unoriginal storylines, unoriginal assets. And you compare that with like 1985, and it was like 3 of the top 25 were sequels. And, you know, we're seeing the same thing happening in entertainment today that's happening elsewhere. And it's you in movies, you know, they're going to spend $100 to $200 million producing what's going to be for sure a big hit. And all the experimentation has moved to television. So that's the whole kind of like startup scrappy. We're going to try one little thing, small investment. If it works, we'll double down. Like, what does that look like for feature film content in the future? And when Disney runs out of Star Wars movies to make and runs out of Star Wars-like franchises to buy, how do they continue? And what does that flywheel look like after 2025?
Yep. I was going to go down the same path. I'm going to give it an A-, but for this reason, thinking about Lucasfilm versus Pixar, Lucasfilm is a depreciating asset. It was a mispriced one that Disney correctly identified, and they're going to be able to get a ton of juice out of it by feeding it through their flywheel, and that'll go on and on and on for a long time. But fundamentally, there's not a... it is just content. There's not a moat there, you know. Maybe there is in ILM, in their technology to the extent that that's differentiated. But the moat is Disney. And what's interesting is Pixar, I think, was different. You know, their moat was people, which is slightly, arguably more ephemeral than an organizational or a process or a technology moat. But Pixar, for Disney, I think has been an appreciating asset, because the process that it brought, the ability to continually generate new, relevant, successful content. Maybe they can apply that to Lucasfilm. But I don't think Lucasfilm itself is going to be that gift that keeps on giving.
What are you talking about? Indiana Jones is going to be like...
Yeah, but that's just one more. Yeah, just one more existing content franchise.
Yeah, like will Lucasfilm, the division of Disney, come up with an entirely new franchise? And will they go spend $100 million to make that movie that is the new Lucasfilm franchise? Unlikely. The question is, will they be able to do it successfully within Walt Disney Studios?
Yep. And here's the question, right? I mean, financially, probably Lucasfilm in the medium term is going to be a better acquisition than Pixar. But in the long term, in terms of like extending Disney's competitive advantage and moat around their flywheel, to mix two metaphors, I feel like Pixar is going to add longevity, and Lucasfilm is like it's like a turbo boost.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Well, that's all I got.
Me too. On that note, happy 2016, everybody.
May the Force be with you.
Who got the truth? Is it you, is it you, is it you who got the truth now? Huh?
All right, listeners, now is a great time to talk about one of our favorite companies, Statsig.
Yes, long-time acquired partner. There is a reason why the best product teams at companies like OpenAI and Notion, Atlassian, Figma, Rippling, Brex, and more rely on Statsig, whether they are iterating on their core product features or shipping AI-powered experiences at scale.
Yep. In the crazy speed of today's AI world, shipping fast is just table stakes now. It's basically trivial to build and deploy your app constantly. The real advantage is how quickly you learn what changes actually created value for customers and how fast you can use that signal to guide what you ship next. Whether it's a feature tweak, a pricing change, a performance improvement, or an AI update like a model change or prompt adjustment, they're not relying on instinct. They're measuring what actually moved engagement, retention, and ultimately revenue. And as more teams build with AI, that learning loop becomes even more important. Building with LLMs introduces non-determinism into your product experience. The same input doesn't always produce the same output, and behavior can shift in subtle ways in real-world use.
So doing offline evals will give you part of the picture, but you can really only understand the impact once your product is live with real users, and then you can measure how their behavior actually changes. It's very different than the way that you would ship features in a pre-AI world where you knew exactly what the software was going to do in production.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is where Statsig comes in. It brings experimentation, feature flags, and product analytics into one unified system so teams can ship safely, test rigorously, and directly link what they changed to how users actually behaved. The result is a tighter feedback loop and learning that compounds over time, so you don't just ship more, you ship better.
So if you want to make learning your competitive advantage, whether you're building new AI experiences or just evolving your existing core product, go to statsig.com/acquired to get started.